So welcome back, everyone who's been joining us regularly. Since July, I don't know if anybody's here tonight who's been watching us every week since July, but yeah, we're continuing today our theme of climate change related talks, inspired by TED Countdown's global program last month. And we're excited to welcome tonight Caroline Wajsblum to our virtual stage. Caroline cares deeply about the environment. She's a mother. She's a permaculturist. Did I spell that right? Yeah, culture. Yeah, I think that's right. If you don't know what that means, you can Google that. Community organizer and social entrepreneur. And her idea worth spreading, which I'm really excited to hear more about, is how we can work together to create positive visions of our local food systems. So welcome, Caroline, and I'm going to hand right over to you.
Thanks very much, Nicola. So I'm here because I'm a foodie. I love food, especially food that's ethically and locally sourced. I'm extremely grateful for how it sustains us, how it teaches us about our health and our environment. It connects us with our amazing planet and to age-old wisdom. It can bring people together, and it helps to create cultural identity. Food has the power to encourage collective action and personal change, and change is really what we need, and fast. So in the book, the 2017 book, Drawdown, which is the most comprehensive plan ever proposed to reverse climate change, it states that surprisingly what we eat turns out to be one of the greatest causes of global warming, along with the energy sector. Some of the reasons for this are the reliance on fossil fuels, obviously, for powering your tractors and transportation, processing, packaging, refrigeration, retail and catering, use of chemical fertilizers, oxidizing and turning into greenhouse gases, livestock emissions, soil degradation, deforestation, and of course food waste, which is just huge. The good news is that some aspects of our food systems can be redesigned to capture carbon instead of producing it. This can also increase biodiversity, soil health and fertility, water availability, yields, nutrition, and ultimately food security. And the Drawdown plan really provides a fantastic bunch of research on many of these solutions, and if you haven't read it yet, I really recommend that you do. So we live in unique times. The environmental and social justice movement have increased awareness about ethical food choices. Market research shows now that ethical and environmental concerns drive our food choices in the West more than ever. And of course, this year, COVID-19 has reminded us that food security is profoundly important for our survival. More people than ever are choosing local food products and services and choosing to grow their own. We need to use this momentum to accelerate change. Let's work together now to find regenerative solutions to redesign our local food systems. Each community has different needs and resources, and so the grassroots response must provide clear guides on how we can influence policy and implement the solutions on our local level. So I know this sounds like a lot, and I've often struggled with feeling overwhelmed by how much there is to do, and I acknowledge that we have a really challenging path ahead of us. Finding motivation and hope in this world full of obstacles can be really hard, and that's why before we start to get into the important work of focusing on solutions and how we make them work for us in our communities, we really need to take time to focus on the positive future that we wish to create. So I'm talking about visioning. Visioning is a method of aligning the energy contained within a common cause around an inspirational picture of the future. We really need to grasp hold of that inspiring image and allow it to give us the courage and the motivation that we so desperately need to move forward. In my work as a permaculture designer and in the setting up process of the social enterprise Frome Field to Fork, we've found it to be an essential tool in the design process. I've also found in past projects that I've worked on without clear shared visions that we were unable to succeed in the long term. So this is an invitation to all of you foodies out there, especially those of you who are involved in the local food movement, community organisers and even local politics. Let us take this time to reconnect and reimagine our local food systems. So how can we work together to create these positive visions of our local food systems? Well, I'm going to share with you 5 steps that I believe will help you to create an inclusive and successful process. The first step is that before creating your visions, you really need to find out what already exists in your community and, of course, who you should be inviting into the visioning process. There are quite a lot of fantastic tools available, such as the Campaign to Protect Rural England, and they have a local food web toolkit, which can help you to map your local food web, finding out how people grow and process, transport, buy and eat food in the local area. This step's also going to connect you with those people who are involved in the local food movement and the industries. The process of creating your local food web can be performed within a community group or an organisation, but preferably working together with your local council. With so many councils declaring climate emergencies, at least here in the UK, it seems strange to me that their responses, they usually only focus on energy and recycling. Now really is the time that food needs to be at the heart of local government research and policy development. The second step is that you need to share your discoveries with the community as much as possible. And this is going to start conversations with people. It's going to increase the visibility of your local food in your area and boost the local food economy. Step 3 is to gather together your experts, local experts and community organisers, and hopefully the local council who you've got on board, to design and organise your participatory visioning project. Really important to be clear on your mission. It could be to reduce carbon emissions in your local food systems by 50% by 2030, or it could go deeper. It can help you to find funding if you create an association with members. And also here in the UK, there's actually a great resource that's just become available, which is called the Transition Bounce Forward Visioning Exercise and Seed Funding, which is available later this month. And there's a question and answer session about that on the 11th of November, which you can find out about on the Transition Network website. Step 4 is to organise your participatory events. Obviously, at the moment, we have the added challenge of being able to or unable to meet face to face. And hopefully this is going to change. But if not, why not create a virtual event? The positive thing about this is that the cost of a virtual event is much less than a physical one, without a venue or extra staff, and people don't have to travel to your event. So what you need to do is to invite people from right the way across your local food web to join your visioning events. You really want to aim for maximum engagement with this process. So removing barriers to participation is extremely important. How will people with disabilities take part? If people don't have access to computers, how will you include them in the process? Lots to think about. Robert Glass writes in the Social Transformation Project Visioning Toolkit To facilitate dreaming, the visioning process needs to lift us past the obstacles of the present and literally time travel us into the future to see, feel, hear, smell, and taste the future that we want to create. Some ways to do this are to use creative and innovative and interactive exercises to free up people's imaginations, find out about people's personal stories and their dreams, use smaller breakout groups, icebreakers, energy raisers, make sure you put time in for breaks and time for unfacilitated conversations. It's also really important to make sure that everybody's given equal power within the process and that any differences of opinion are really given the time and the energy to work through to bring alignment. Once you've got your ideas, you can group the similar elements together, name each of those elements and work out how they relate to each other. And if there's a hierarchy to them, if there's something that's more important that fits in before anything else can happen. And then of course comes the writing. Working together as a group to write can be extremely difficult. It's very easy to get stuck in nuances and semantics, and it can take a lot of time and energy. So try appointing local writers to record the ideas and hone the vision throughout the process. Finally, you want to make sure that you test your vision. Does it really capture the imagination of those people who read it? Does it get across what it is you really want to happen? Does it inspire and motivate people? Make the changes if you need to, and then when everyone's agreed, present your final vision to all of the attendees and make sure you celebrate it. It's a wonderful achievement. Step 5, final one, once you've got your positive vision for your local food systems, share it, share it, share it, and use it to give you courage and hope and purpose in the coming years. Let it guide your next steps. Present it to the local council. Let the vision guide your and their actions and help to influence policy creation. The next step could even be to use it as a base for organising a citizens' assembly on local food systems in your area. So I really hope that these ideas give you a little hope and a spark of courage to start the journey towards what could be a beautiful future. Thanks very much.
Wow, and I think, yeah, let's hope that we have inspired people tonight, because I think on the eve of our second lockdown, we definitely need to be future focused, as you said, and finding hope and motivation. And yeah, and I wonder, Caroline, if I know I'm not supposed to be interviewing you as such, but just what has kept you going, and what are the sparks of, you know, of possibility that you've seen over, you know, this time? Because I know you were growing a lot of your own produce over the summer. Yeah, what are some of the signs that you know you're already starting to create your vision?
Well, I mean, for me personally, on a personal level, just trying to grow as much food as I possibly can. Although as a time-starved single mum, that can be a bit tricky sometimes. But yeah, and just I think the thing that's really given me a lot of hope over lockdown has really been how people have responded to having that extra time and gone, oh, well, what can I do? Oh, I know what I can do. I can sort my garden out. I can start growing some food. And it's amazing how many people have just started growing food over this year. And I mean, in general, looking back at the last 10 years or so, we've seen a massive explosion of wonderful community food projects all over the country, and I'm sure all over the world, and they've just become more and more visible. So I think that's really heartening. Now it's just about really working out how we connect that all up and we actually start working together and work out, okay, well, in our region, great, we've got loads of wonderful apples, we can make loads of cider, and we've got lots of lovely cheese producers, but what else? What about the rest of it? How are we actually going to provide enough food for everybody? Especially in crisis situations, climate crisis, COVID-19, and obviously we've got Brexit coming up here in the UK as well, and that holds another challenge. So I think, you know, it's hopeful that we can do enough, but we have to move fast. Yeah.
I liked also that you had a positive spin on the fact that we can't meet, you know, it's in most cases we can't meet face to face at the moment, but actually there are some benefits to that, and that's really one of the benefits of this tonight, isn't it?
Yeah.
That we're able to remove the barriers that would normally, you know, it actually makes it possible for people around the world to see this, and yeah, we do it at minimal, well, really no cost. We're all in our own homes, which is, you know, is actually something that's been a blessing, hasn't it? It's made a lot of things possible. So yeah,
absolutely. Thank you. Technology is
thanks
useful
again. Absolutely. Yes, it has to be in its place, but it definitely has some uses, and if it can help further your vision, I certainly hope that it can. Thank you so much for joining us, Caroline, and
thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, and we hope that everybody watching will be back next week. We'll be with another speaker. So thanks again, Caroline, and good night, everyone.